Welcome to Pride and Parsippany. I'm your host, Mayor James Barberio, and today with me I have our tax collector, Terry Whalen. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Mayor.
Let me just move this here for you. I got to put my glasses on. I'm sorry about that. They're getting worse, my eyes. But anyway, well, first of all, the tax collector is responsible for reporting and enforcing collections of property taxes, but your job encompasses much more than that. I know we have a collection rate of 99.38%, but can you tell us what you do daily? And
Sure.
well, first of all, why don't you just give us tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Well, my name's Terry Whalen.
Yeah.
I'm originally from Rockaway. I live down the shore now, though. Went to Mars Catholic and went to William Patterson. Graduated from William Patterson in 1985. Actually, I graduated from William Patterson in '89. Graduated from Mars Catholic in '85. I've worked in government since 1989. Started with the Borough of Rockaway and worked all over. I'm a licensed, I'm a certified tax collector as well as a certified finance officer. But, for the township, I am a tax collector, and Coochie's our CFO. That's her job, and glad she has it, not me. But I'm married, 2 kids. One no longer a teenager, and the other one's a senior in high school.
Oh, that's
So.
good. Well, thank you, Terry. But just give a little brief description of what you
Sure,
do.
but the job as tax collector in Parsippany is different than it is in other municipalities, in that here in Parsippany, we collect all the revenue for the township, not just the taxes, but the taxes, water, sewer, building, and construction permits and fire prevention penalties and fees, as well as, dog licenses. They pay the clerk's office and then come to us, and so ultimately we're responsible for the full collection.
Yeah, you're responsible for all the revenues that come in.
Correct.
Even hotel taxes as well, correct?
No, the hotel taxes go directly to from any revenues that come directly from the state, get wired right to the township, and those come through the CFO's office.
Okay.
But ultimately, they do come through they're recorded through my office. At our register, so that we produce a monthly report that shows all the revenue, and you get the monthly report when it's completed each month. And annually we collect. Last year was like $238 million. It's a lot of money. And it's not all taxes. 198 million of it's taxes, but that leaves roughly $40 million in other fees between water and sewer, and of course, the miscellaneous revenues.
Right.
So
now, if you could educate us on that, you're governed by the state, not by the town. Am I correct?
my job specifically as collector is laid out in 40A9, lists the job as tax collector. We're governed by Title 54, which is the title that deals with tax collection. And the statute was written in 1914 and amended in 1918. So we're talking World War I era legislation, which in some ways ties our hands in that it's old legislation and wasn't meant for 21st century, methods. But at the same token, it stood the test of time. I don't know of any other statute that's still in place for 100 years that is still applicable, for the crux of it is applicable today as it was, during World War I.
And that might be before the IRS was even formed. I mean, before they even started taking taxes.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking, it's a 100-year-old law, but the main core of that law is applicable today as it was then. And one of the reasons it stood the test of time is it's very specific. For instance, it says taxes are due in installments. Those installments are February 1st, May 1st, August 1st, and November 1st. That was written right in the law in 1914. Here we are, 2016, and it's still the same 4 quarters. Right. And by saying that they're due on that date, and it says you can grant it gives the authority to the municipality to grant up to a 10-day grace period. Right. And it says after that grace period, interest shall apply. So that takes any ambiguity out. If you don't pay by the 10th, you're subject to interest. There's nothing that you can do about that, or the council can do about that. And as you know, you get asked the question. You get the
Actually,
question
that was my next
every quarter. You get
Right.
someone coming to your office to complain that we charge them interest on the 11th. But there's nothing we can do. I mean,
Right, there
the
is no
law,
forgiving
the law is the
process,
law.
right.
Yeah,
And I understand. I mean, I know, like when I first started as mayor, I did get several situations on that, and then I was educated on the fact that once that interest is there, there's no way to remove it. It has to.
No, there really isn't, and that's although it's very restrictive. At the same token, it truly is blind in that it doesn't matter who you are.
Right.
Everybody is treated the same. You know, from you as mayor to to the little old lady who lives by herself, to a family of 5. It doesn't matter who you know or what you know, or it's totally blind. It treats everybody the same. I joke around and says it treats everybody with contempt, but as a joke. But the reality is everybody's treated the same, and it's fair. And we may not like the fact that interest applies, but it applies to everyone fairly and uniformly. Yeah. And where that really comes into effect, and where you just go, you kind of cringe, is with some of the big rateables in town. I mean, several years ago, one of the big companies paid on the 12th, and they wound up paying $6,000 in interest. Wow. Because they paid on the 12th. It was 2 days past the end of the grace period. It's technically due on the 1st. It was 12 days late, and they owed $40-some-odd thousand in interest in principal. And they I don't even want to think about how angry they were. But there's nothing we can do about it.
Right. There's nothing you can do. I mean, I've learned that too as well.
Yeah. It's.
But we accept electronic payments.
Absolutely, we accept payments.
Before you go on, explain that, because what happens a lot of times is someone might make that payment on the 10th, but the bank might not. But first you can explain it, and then
Well, we accept payments electronically 2 different ways.
Right.
You can pay using our website, www.parsippany.net, and on the left-hand side, you can go scroll down about a third of the way. There's a link that says, utility payments or tax payments. You can click on that, and you can follow the link. You enter your block, your lot, or water sewer. You enter your account number, and then the first 2 letters of your last name. And then you proceed, and all you're doing is you're creating a quote-unquote electronic check. Right. You use your checking account information, and it only accepts checking account information. Right. It doesn't accept savings account or money market accounts. That happens quite a bit, and the payments get rejected if you do that. So, but people enter that information in there, and you enter your bank account information, your name, and you pick whether you want to pay the delinquent only or to make the account current. And when you do that, payment goes through. You get a receipt, gets emailed to you because you enter your phone number as well as your email address, and your payment goes through unless you make an error. The big mistake that people make when paying using our website is they use a savings account, a savings deposit slip, and every savings deposit slip for every bank in the U.S. begins with a 5. Every single one. So most ABA numbers, which is the bank routing number, or it's 021, 022, 121. They're 9 digits long, but every single bank routing, every single deposit slip for every bank begins with a 5. So it's the first question we ask, and 99 times out of 100, if someone has a problem with the website, it's because they're using a deposit slip instead of a check. But that's the first way to pay. The other way is actually easier for most people, and that is you can pay using your bank's own online payment system. It's just instead of using your block and lot, you use your tax account ID number, which is not something that we normally do. We're so used to block and lot. Pretty much everything in government is assigned by block and lot. You know, the assessor's office works by block and lot. We work by block and lot. The building department, engineering, everybody pretty much goes by block and lot because it's the easiest information.
Right.
And it's the crux of everything. Like for GIS, for geographical information systems, everything's based off of block and lot because from the block and lot you can build a map of the town. So going by account ID number is kind of goes against the way we do things. But if you enter that ID number, and it's a 6-digit number at the most, and you enter that and set up the Township of Parsippany as a payer, enter that account ID number, and we get paid electronically. And it comes out of your bank whenever you designate it to come out of the bank. We get every day at 2:30 we get an email saying these are the number of payments that we got in, and for us we're downloading it and then depositing the money's deposited for us. The only negative to that is sometimes we have no control over the information that people enter.
Right.
So we tell people if you're going to pay your water and sewer, set it up as a separate vendor as you do your taxes, because if you flip-flop between the both, guaranteed you're going to make a mistake and you're going to pay your water bill to your tax bill or your tax bill to your water bill. And sometimes we can catch those things, but generally speaking, we can't. And people got to understand that we're just downloading. At that point in time, it's strictly mechanical for us. We're just saying, okay, there's $4,000 in payments. Okay, post it, bring it into our accounting software. Look, okay, the dollar amounts, yep, they match. Good, post. And so
I do it. I mean,
yes, you do.
I do it.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a great way to pay.
Right.
I mean, most of us. I mean, I know my wife and I. We pay all our bills at home electronically, and to have to write it. Most people to write a check is it's antiquated.
I write checks once in a while now, but
yeah.
When I pay the water bill, I always check my bank account 2 days later to make sure it posts.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't post, then I know I have to, do something. But explain to myself and the residents why we don't accept credit cards.
Great question. Let's go back to how much we collect annually, $198 million in taxes.
Right.
And then like another $25 million in water and sewer, between water and sewer, about another $25 million. So that's $223 million. Well, what the average public doesn't realize is when you accept credit cards, you're paying the bank a fee anywhere from 2% to 3%. So if we were to accept credit cards, we would have to budget to 2% of what people could pay. Well, 2% of, we know we collect $223 million, you'd have to budget $4 million.
It's a lot of money.
I think the whole budget for the tax collector's office is $35,000 in.
Or you'd have to charge the residents the fee. Or how do you do that?
But you can't do that with the credit card laws. Unless you're doing it as a convenience. The only way we can get around it is if we're offering them a convenience.
Right.
Well, you can come up and pay at the window. So by paying by credit card, that's not a convenience because you can pay by check right then and there. So there goes the ability to say it's a convenience.
Right.
We accept credit cards at the Knoll, but
that's a user fee, like pretty much.
But that's a user fee because we technically aren't accepting the credit card.
Right.
It's run through Municipay.
Right.
So and they're paying that fee.
Right.
Well, it's a difference between paying a fee on $35 or $38 or even $70, depending upon whether you're from town or out of town. For the Knoll, 2% is $70.
Right.
It's peanuts. But if the average homeowner is roughly their tax bill is roughly $2,000, 2% is paying $40.
Right.
Well, if you're going to charge someone an additional $40 every quarter, oh my! I mean, people would go crazy. That's an extra $160 a year. If people's taxes went up $160 a year,
right.
That's not worth a lot of frequent flyer miles.
Right.
It really. That is, sooner or later we're probably going to have to, because the millennials, as they're known, they don't know what a check is. Sooner or later, I'm sure that those fees, that 2 to 3% is going that cost is going to come down over time. But right now, I mean, we've looked at it. We look at it every couple years. We look at it just to see, hey, is it worth doing? And the reality is it's really, the cost is really not worth it. And no, would everybody pay by credit card? No, everybody wouldn't. The reality is we'd probably have $15 or $20 million worth of payments in credit cards.
It's still a lot of.
But this still is still a lot of money that to budget that. It's not, for us, it's not.
$20,000, so you would.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. You made a good point, though.
And plus, the amount of interest that we charge is 8% on the first $1,500.
Right.
If you owe less than $1,500, it's 8%.
Yeah. So
there's no credit card out there that's charging 8%.
No.
And mind you, we are 18% on any amount over $1,500. But even 18% credit cards today, some charge 18%.
Right.
Some charge a whole lot higher, and people, I like to look at it as we're protecting people from themselves.
Yeah.
By not accepting them in one way, we really are, and because we said it. Let's back up a second. People that are really, oh my gosh, they got to pay, and that generally doesn't happen with taxes. For the most part, people are very good about paying their taxes. That's why we collect 99% of the taxes.
Right.
Water and sewer bill, there's a little bit of a different story in that, we collect a very high percentage of water and sewer, but people don't pay timely their water and sewer bill like they do their taxes.
Right.
And would it help there? Well, the percentage that it would be lesser, but the reality is with your water and sewer bill now, if someone falls behind, we put them on a payment plan.
Right.
We give them until October of the year to pay. We set them up on a payment plan, have them pay every 2 weeks or every month, depending upon how much they owe. And we give them time to do that. We'll set up a formal payment plan once, in accordance with our rules. We set up a formal payment plan once, where they have set payments. The payments written down. These are the payments. We calculate it out for them. You're allowed a formal payment plan once. Then after that, we do, we call it an informal payment plan. The reality is, we don't want to turn people's water off,
right.
But the reality is,
at some point,
we have to, because if we don't, we're penalizing the 95% of people that pay timely, and that are paying on time. If we don't turn someone's water off, and you're paying your water bill timely, that's not fair to you. Right. That's not. We got to look out for the people that are paying, the 95% that are paying, as opposed to the 5% that aren't. And I don't think it's 5%. Right. The reality is it's not 5%. But the reality is, once we start payment, when we go out to do turn-offs, and we do turn people off, as we start in April and we turn off until October. If we turn off 1 or 2 people a week, that's high. Most weeks we wind up not turning anybody off. When we go through the town, that's something most people don't realize, that people probably need to know, is not everybody gets the water bill at the same time. Right. We have 10 cycles throughout the town, because the town's big, from from Lake Hiawatha to Mount Tabor to, to Mars Plains to Lake Intervale, they're a big geographic area. So the town is broken up into 10 sections, starting in Hiawatha, and it moves out and around, and then cycle 10 is up near Powder Mill. So, every area of town gets a bill a different week. We bill 10 straight weeks. You figure there's roughly 13 weeks in a quarter. There's 52 weeks a year, 13 weeks a quarter. So 10 of those 13 weeks we bill. So we bill 10 weeks. We don't bill for 3 weeks, and then we start again. We start billing the first week of the calendar year. So we bill the start of the new quarter starts with cycle 1, and we go through to cycle 10. So we get this question asked at least 5-10 times a day. Not everybody in town gets billed the same time. So we try to have the meters read and billed timely, so that there's a very short lag time in between. Because from a confidence perspective, if I read your meter 3 weeks ago and now you're getting a bill now, that doesn't instill confidence for the user. And the reality is we try to have it within 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks of you being read, you're billed. So
we're running out of time, but I do want to ask you one more question. Sure. A lot of residents ask this question of me, but they don't know the law, not what our process is. During the summertime, do we reduce the sewer rates?
Actually, we don't reduce it during the summertime. They're actually, the sewer rates are reduced all year long. The rate is reduced 25% all year long for residents. So you get if your water usage is 10,000 gallons, we'll say, you're billed based on 75% of that. So because we anticipate that 25% is used for cooking or, washing cars.
You gotta go back to that last question. Your mic for some reason went off.
Oh, it fell, that's why. Oh, yeah, I don't know how it fell, but... Oh, I'm ready. Got to answer the last question. Dale.
Good.
Hey, Paul.
Just go back to the beginning of the question, ask it again and...
Okay. We're winding down for time, so I have one last question for you. During the summer, I said the summer, but cut this one.
Say during the year.
I haven't done that much. I told it already, but no, we're not doing it that way. Okay. We're running out of time, so I have one more question for you. Do we reduce the rates, or for the sewer and water during the summer times?
Well, the sewer rate is reduced all year round for residents.
Okay.
The sewer rate is reduced because we anticipate that not all the water that you use is going down the drain.
Right.
People wash cars, people water plants, people they're using you use it to cook with, you drink it. So not all the water goes down the drain. So for residential purposes, it's 75% of the usage. So if your usage is 10,000 gallons for a quarter, you're only paying the equivalent of 7,500 gallons worth of sewer. Yeah, we get asked that question all the time because in the summertime because of pools. And the interesting thing about that is if people call and I'm filling my pool, do I get a discount? No, you don't. But the interesting thing is we tell them what the sewer rates are, and on average, a 10,000 gallon pool is nothing.
Oh, you know how I found that out? I called a place.
40,000 gallon pool.
When I had my pool, when I bought my in-laws' house, I called a place up to fill the pool because I don't want to pay. They were going to charge me $300, and to fill my pool came to $30-something.
Exactly. Most people don't realize that.
I'll fill it up to the town.
Most people don't realize to fill up their pool is not a lot of money.
No.
We had a guy just just last week who actually called up to thank us because he called up someplace to come in. They were going to come in with a pumper, like a, I'll say a pumper truck, but like a gas truck,
Yeah.
filled with water in the back, and they were going to fill up his pool. He had a built-in pool, and it was like 35,000 gallons, and they were going to charge him over $1,100.
Yeah, just do it yourself.
It's like we figured out what his bill was like. Yeah, it's going to cost about $165 between the water and sewer bill.
Right.
And he goes, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's it.
obviously
It's
you
not
canceled that
a whole
one.
lot." And he's like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. You just saved me $900."
Well, Terry, thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'll have to have you back because there are more questions I want to ask you, but we are limited for time. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in once again to Pride in Parsippany. Until next time, God bless you all. Thank you.